My name's Stephen Hegedus. I'm the director of the Kaput Centre, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all here today for the third in the series of the international, I suppose we are international, of the interdisciplinary colloquium series. Professor Blanton is going to introduce our speaker in a moment. I want to personally thank Barbara for being here today. One thing I did want to make a notice of is that on the Kaput Centre website, kaputcentre.umassd.edu, there is now a public wiki which anybody can access and put their reflections on the various events that are occurring here in the centre. And some of those things are this talk that you're here today. And Barbara's talk is there, and so you can click and edit this page online to add your reflections. And I was suggesting, I know Professor Blanton's students are here, that this might be a great place to give feedback. And don't worry about it, because like all good wikis, we can undo everything that people do, so don't feel embarrassed. So that's an exciting little thing that we're doing to try and support the work that we're doing here to make it more collaborative. And you'll also see on the home page the upcoming events. I've already clicked on that, why did I click it again? On the upcoming events that we have in the series, where you'll also be able to see prior talks as well as the famous author series, where we're studying the works of Jim Birch at the moment. That's my little intro. I thank you for being here today, and I now hand over to my colleague Maria Blanton.
Well, about a year ago when I was teaching the course for which my students are here tonight, I thought, gosh, I'd love to get Barbara Dougherty to come up and talk to us about her work with early algebra. So we had this big idea we would use iChat. We've worked for a while with the IT folks on both of our campuses, but there was a glitch that we never could sort out. So I tabled that idea. This semester when I was teaching it again, I thought, let's try one more time. And Barbara suggested very graciously to actually come here in person and talk about her work. And as much as I appreciate the technology, it's much better to have you here in person, because we've had a great day time together today working on our work, which is early algebra. But Barbara's is very different than mine, and I think my students will appreciate some of that difference when you hear what she has to say. We've looked a lot at functional thinking and generalized arithmetic, and Barbara takes a very different perspective. I've known Barbara for a number of years, but when someone calls you and says, Maria, do you mind being an advisor on our project, and we're probably going to have a meeting in January, and the meeting is going to be in Hawaii, it's real easy to say yes. And so that was my first real, I guess, formal introduction in terms of our working together, although we had certainly known each other prior to that. And so we've worked together on a number of different things, and it's always been a pleasure. Barbara is the director of the Educational Research and Evaluation Center at University of Mississippi. Did I get that name correct? Or the title of your center? So it's she comes here with really a great vita and a strong pedigree, and we're really honored to have you here today. Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for coming tonight and letting me share some of the work that we've done in early algebra. But before we go on, I do have to make a disclaimer. The pink laptop that you see up here is not his. Okay? Even though he may have been using it, it was only on loan. Yeah.
There goes that reputation.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify that just in case there was any miscommunication. Well, tonight we're going to talk about an algebraic design for young children, and we're going to do it through several different means. I'm going to share some of the student work with you. You're going to do some tasks that the students do, and we're going to look then at some of the foundational work as well, so you get kind of a full picture. You're going to see 5 years of a study rolled into 45 minutes or a little bit more. I asked her just right before you all came in, how long do I have? And she said, oh, about 45 minutes. And I thought, oh, that's about 3 hours of discussion that will, so feel free at any point in time if there's something that you want to question or ask about feel free to do that, but also at the end I'll save some time if you have questions. And I hope you'll have lots of them. And please don't hesitate to ask the hard questions, because this project is still so new that it's very helpful to hear perspectives that cause us to think about it in different ways. So are you ready? Okay, let's do it. We're going to take the journey through early algebra, hopefully through a little bit different path. So I see that everybody in front of you has some kind of a drink or a cup of something, or you're close to someone that has a drink. I'd like for you to look at the containers that you have and decide with those containers what kinds of things might we be able to compare or measure about that container or its contents. So would you talk about that with the person sitting next to you and decide?
So what do you think about
You all have nothing in front of you.
Take it straight up.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't do her work, so that's very
Okay, I'm curious about some of the things that you're talking about.
Good school.
Melissa, what were some things that you heard from either the person you were talking with or people around you that you might be able to measure or compare?
Well, we were just okay because we both have the crystal light, and Fran has a little more than I do, so that you could just compare the two bottles as far as picking them up, the weight. We were talking about the nutrition facts, how you could compare the two different, same object, but could have different things in them.
Okay, so we have the idea of weight or mass and the idea of nutritional kinds of things. Okay, other things that you realize that you can compare or measure. Molly, from your group.
We noticed that it's a pint, it's like 1 pint, so how many pints could be in a gallon, or how many cups could fit in a pint.
Okay, and so if we focus only on the containers that you all have, how much we could fit inside of that. So would what fits inside the Coke can be the same as what fits inside that bottle in terms of volume?
That's a try.
Okay, what would you predict?
I think I'd like to think, no, this one's 16 ounces, that's 12.
Well, yes, it would fit.
Yes.
So the containers of the Coke can would fit in there, but not.
Not vice versa.
Okay, good, thanks for clarifying that. So we have volume so far, we have some ideas about mass and some other kinds of numerical things. What else could we compare or measure? Say a little more about that.
The opening of the top, where you would pour the liquid contents in.
So the length from one side to the other that passes through the center, the diameter measure. Is there any other length that we might be able to measure with those bottles or containers? The height.
Circumference.
Oh, the circumference around the container. Good. Anything else we could compare or
You use it
measure?
as a unit. If this is 1 unit, how many units long container, or how many units tall?
In length. You're talking about
Height or
length
height
unit.
or- yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Fractions.
Say a little bit about fractions.
Like, is it half full, quarter full, three-fourths full, or thirds, if you want to know. Like
So the
thirds.
amount of the,
Liquid inside the bottle.
okay. So far, we're doing really well with different ones. You all have identified all the ones first graders get so far. So we're good so far. Anything else that you can think of that you might measure or compare?
Space.
Say a little bit about that.
Space filling. How well things can fill space. So you could stack them up, and does it
That's an interesting one. So if that was a unit, then would we be able to fill?
able to fill it? Right.
Okay, so versus the length measure that Molly mentioned, we might look at it three-dimensionally.
Mhm.
That's an interesting one. Anything else?
Am I a second grader now?
Yeah, we're moving up. Well, one that you haven't mentioned yet, that first graders talk about, is the area of the base or the bottom. So that area that this way, that fills, so versus the length and versus the three-dimensionality, the volume idea, they also talk about the area of the base. Okay. Those four things, volume, length, mass, and area form the basis of the